Well, hello and welcome. As you can see, this is my GM mode 25. That's right, we got some new GMs. We got one brand new Federation, if you want to consider that, to pick or play from with its own little special bonus. And there's quite a bit new to this game. It's not mind-blowing. And there's still crap that, last year was my first year, 2K24, in the 2K series, because I tried the very first year was 2K20, and we all know what happened there. So anyway, took a long break, 24, I got into it again, really fell in love with the gameplay, with the setup, so on and so forth. The universe mode was fantastic, my GM mode was great, they were going places. Especially being the first time I saw them. Some of you had years to get used to that stuff, and it was mind-blowing to me. Anyway, we went and, I'm just moving a window here, I apologize. So yeah, I started my streaming, and so we're going to start off this mode on extreme mode, and I'm jumping around a little bit here because I'm getting ahead in the video here. We're going to make everything hard. The game difficulty, we're going to go by the trophies this time. You can go by fans too, and I'll do that next GM mode as soon as I acquire this goal. And I like to leave the draft pool default. I have changed it up a little bit in 2K24, but it wasn't a great experience. And I do like to be able to have access to all the matches, so of course I went with the open matches. You don't gotta unlock them, because that's just silly if you ask me. What kind of GM, if you have the money, you can't do it? Like, that's just, okay, are we playing arcade mode or are we playing my GM? I don't know, it feels like arcadey to me. So, my selection... theory is I'm going to spend really good money on 4 to 6 people. Okay, my top 2 stars, which is my heel and my babyface, which are competing for the top belt, and then the 2 which would be competing for the Intercontinental title, or the second lowest belt, and then my female 2 heel and babyface, those 2 top women that are going to be the contenders for that belt. I'm going to spend money on those people, because you want right away for them to be attracting fans, to getting that bonus and stuff like that. You want a lot of wrestlers you can build up though too, because they have little bonuses. So what I do is I look through the list, I find out, first thing is I know I'm going to go for my top heel or my top babyface. Well, in that top 10 selections, which is where you're usually going to find those guys, are you going to choose the top heel or the top babyface? So if there's 2 top babyfaces to worry about, well, of course I'm going to grab one if I got first selection, because I know there's lots of heels to choose from afterwards, so I'm not worried about them getting picked out. Whereas if I choose that heel that I like and hope that babyface is going to be there, it's not going to be there. So just make sure you draft smart. The AI is drafting a lot smarter. I like it. Usually I have 2 more stars than everybody else. As you see there with WCW, some of those guys had 3 or 4 more stars than I did. They have stars that are worth a lot less money for the year, which is awesome. They go down like 49,000 or less. I think even a couple guys are less than that, 26,000 for the year or something stupid like that. But it's great because it puts you in an opportunity where you only got to sign a couple of these guys. Like, I've never even seen Flex Mignon, so he's coming to the team. Same with Dr. Punching Stone, just because his last name's very similar to my doctor's, Dr. Brookstone, Punching Stone. I don't know, maybe I'm just stupid. No, we know that anyway. So I will not choose champions for going into my GM season, because I want those matches to be in my card, because those attract fans. When you're creating a match in my GM, you're not just building a single match. 2 guys go in and have a really good fight, and that's it. You're going to get a great score. No, you could have two guys go in there, have an amazing fight, and score an awful. Because it's about the chemistry in my GM. It's not about just that fight. Think of it as a ballet, a dance, for instance. I don't know, another sport where you're not just graded on that one thing. Okay, when you look at dance, they got different techniques. They got poise, blah blah blah. I don't know, because I don't judge dance, but let's go dog shows. I watch dog shows, so they got like poise and whether or not they can trot nice, and you know, they're judging the hair color and whether or not that back leg is just perfectly at a 90-degree angle. It's not just about that dog. It's not just about that fight. In the fight, we're looking at, do these fighters match up? Do we got a fighter? Do we got a bruiser? Do we got a cruiser? Do we got a giant? Do we got a specialist and anybody else? I'm pretty sure that's going to happen. But there's your first thing that you're being judged on. So if you don't get that right, you've already lost a star. Think of it that way. Now, you've already lost your second star if you don't have a good match. Now, a good match doesn't mean you go out there and kick the crap out of the opponent. A good match has back and forth. A good match plays off that audience. So when you're wrestling and fighting, listen to the crowd. If suddenly you find that even though you're beating this person up, you're hearing boos, throw a punch and miss and let them get some action in. You know, it doesn't got to be a lot of action. It doesn't have to, you know, beat you down to nothing. But there's give and take. That's what makes it good. A fight's never great if you know who's going to win every time. Unless you're thinking it's you, then of course that's great. You want to win every time. So next thing you're going to be judged on is, of course, whether or not you have the stamina to keep up and put on a good match. So in the entire match, do you gas out? Have you gone in with a superstar with maybe 45 stamina and then are at obviously a point of 0 or injured before the match is over? Well, then you screwed up. You got to take a little look at whether or not these people deplete their stamina quickly or slowly, and which stars do which, and where you can use at what point in your card and who you need to rest. So if you don't know, once your stamina is at 40 or below, anytime you're in a match after that, you run a chance of being injured. Plain and simple. So the way I do it, my guy is at 39 or lower. They're not fighting that card. Unless you hit them with the power card. Pre-match physio, you know, you rub out those creases, those bruises. You know, they take that big metal plate and push that lump down into his face so it's not a big, you know, just this massive, and they push, and you're thinking, where the fuck did that thing just go? Well, that's what you're doing. Kinda. Alright, not really. And then another thing you're being judged on is whether or not you used repetitive moves or you use a large repertoire from your bag of tricks. Nobody goes to a fight to watch the people's elbow being thrown 28 times. We still want to see the rock bottom. Probably got to see him take a couple of those looks at his fist, then looked at the enemy, and then threw, you know, giving him that extra 20 seconds where the guy could have just poked him in the eye or kicked him in the sack, and the Rock just, yeah, buddy, watch me watch my fist and throw that eyebrow up. Anyway, so you got to consider that. Are you mixing up your moves? You know, give and take. You got the right match there. Are you a good and a bad guy? Sure, you can wrestle bad versus bad, and you're still going to get you can build a rating there, but you're going to get a lot better rating if it's good versus bad, because that's one of the objectives they look for, is the heel versus babyface. You'll see that in a triple threat. If you have 3 Baby faces, for some reason it's okay, but if you got 3 heels, oh no, everybody's booing. That's why you gotta have at least one person getting that yay, so it sounds like you got that back and forth. So another thing they're going to take a look at when they're judging your match is whether or not you've used your finishers at all, whether or not they've come to watch you just DDT somebody into oblivion, or you drop that stunner on them, or that perfect submission that your wrestler is capable of. So if you think about those things when you're wrestling, you are going to have a much better match when it's rated out in GM mode as opposed to the way it goes in my universe, because it is completely different in the way they're looking at your matches, because in my universe it doesn't really matter. They just want to know if you're injured at the end of it or not. The rest of it's up to you. So that's what adds that little bit more of excitement to GM mode for me. So as we see here, we got Tiffany Stratus. She's got her new outfit. I mean, I've seen her in plenty of outfits, and she looks good in all of them. Who is this? Io Sky. Taken to the sky. Beautiful. So we aren't seeing every new wrestler or every wrestler with a new outfit. We are seeing a lot of new outfits, which is awesome, because how hard is it to put in a new skin when a Chad Gable breaks up from Otis, Just throw one of them a t-shirt from one of their nights out. Now, admittedly, I lost a couple of the first matches here really easy. For good reason, though. They've sort of changed the system on how it works, taking down a belt, how your very first grapple of the match works in chain wrestling, or you can also instigate chain wrestling by simply holding down your grapple button until you grab on, and it should go into a grapple. It doesn't seem to every time, and I don't know if maybe I'm not hitting a proper button after that, but that's totally different to me. I've never chain grappled, so I actually had to go into the tutorial after getting my ass kicked in the first little couple seconds of the match, because it kept happening over and over again, and I couldn't fight back. I had no idea. I couldn't understand what to do. And the same thing happened when we came to the submission minigame. There you have a little red bar and a larger blue bar. And one person I think the person trying to make you submit has the blue bar, and they're trying to overlap the red bar. And you're trying to steer that red bar away and trick them so that, it's not overlapping for a certain amount of time. I don't know if I like this better than the way it was, but what I do really like is the fact that now I got different games for different things. So it used to be sort of a button mash sort of thing to get out of that, and it's a button mash things for a couple other things. Well, okay, now I have the submission minigame where we have the sliders, and that's a whole new thing to look at, new visual. Then you got the submission or the minigame for the briefcase up on the ladder, and that's new. To be honest, I've only tried it once or twice in one of my ladder matches I get up there. And I'm looking forward to it. It was exciting, but I think the most exciting part of it is it looks a lot more complicated and involved. No, not complicated. It looks more involved than the previous system, where you just had that silly little open slot moving around and you had to catch it and drop your ball in. I mean, that was just... You used to have those games as a kid, You got a little silver marble in there, and you get it at McDonald's, and you're trying to break through the wall. But anyway, that's what I always thought of when I was doing those ladder matches. But that's gone. And then for the pin, I could either do the rapid tap, which doesn't work for me. Just because I got a bad shoulder and I've screwed my hand up pretty bad in my lifetime. Lots of injuries, man. I was a pretty crazy kid. and we didn't believe in doctors or telling our parents why our nose was crooked. So, we lived with it. It's better that than get a second beating, right? Because you got the one that gave you the crooked nose in the first place, and then you tell your mom that you got beat up at school and you're getting another beating by a woman this time. Yikes. Yikes. I mean, it looks bad on both parties, but anyway. So as you see here, I have gone ahead and actually left the warnings on and stuff like that for possum and when to kick out. The prompts is a better word for it. And I'm only going to do that for this first My GM week. After that, I'm taking them all off, just like I had before, going to pro style. But I kind of had to do that because they changed up once again the pin, the kick out. So now it's the way I thought it always should be, where you hit it and there's a little bit of a delay and you don't know if you got it sometimes, and because there's that bit of a delay, you don't truly have all that time in the 3 count, and that can be exciting. And I didn't know they switched it up, and so the first couple times I got pinned, I honestly thought I had to hit X or press up to kick out and then hit another button, because I was doing it, but I wasn't doing it fast enough, because it took time for it to react. Anyway, it's better. You'll notice it when you watch, I think. You should be able to tell. But all those little changes have made for good aesthetics, and honestly, it's pleasing. Ooh, let's talk about what I didn't like really quick, because I think that is super important. And this really, it pisses me off, to be honest. And I don't know why nobody else talks about it. Am I the only person in the world that this bothers? Hell in a Cell. Why? Why is it only that one section where I can throw guys through the cage on either side? Don't get me wrong. I know you can do it on the entrance side or the announce table side, right? But you can't do it at the front or the back, and you can't do it at the back of the cage at the same sides that you're able to do it on at the front. So even if I walk them to the back of the cage, I can't, for some reason, throw them through the cage. Maybe I'm just not doing it properly, and so if I'm not doing it properly, let me know in the comments right now with a big no. You suck at HIAC. No, you suck at HIAC. Hell in a Cell. Okay? And let me have it. But at the same time, tell me what I'm doing wrong. Because that corner is so goopy. And what I mean by that is garbage. You get down in there and you can't run. It carries you through sections where you have no control over your character. Once you get into a certain depth of your walk, like for instance, if the corner's here, you want to, once you get like almost to the corner, you're forced to walk all the way through the corner. But if you'd stop just there, you're okay. But you take that one more step, even though there's room to stand there, room to stand there, room to stand there, room to stand there, you can't stand there. It pushes you through to designated spots in those corners. And that is garbage to me. I don't know why that is. Here's the way I look at it. Hell in a Cell, when I... close your eyes. Hell in a Cell. And I've kind of ruined the experiment. But I'm not going to edit that out, because I think it's funny that I'm an idiot. What did you see? Likely, depending on your age, Mick Foley / Mankind, and none other than The Undertaker, going at it in what is one of the most memorable matches of all time, in my opinion, making that match type WWE specific. Now, to me, that doesn't say that if a new federation opened up tomorrow, they couldn't have a Hell in a Cell match. But they better not call it a Hell in a Cell match. I'll send the freaking Undertaker and Mankind to their house if they do. Because that match made that synonymous with WWE. And if that one didn't do it, the one with Shane Mack and Undertaker surely did. And there were many memorable Hell in a Cell matches after that. But let's face it, they have been minimal compared to other matches. I think in total there's been less than 20 Hell in a Cell matches in WWE history. And I think that number is likely closer to 12 to 15. Roughly. And don't quote me on that. I haven't done the old Google. So it's just little things that have added to the game, but at the same time, that one little thing really grabs at my tit, man. It just twists. I love that they finally brought in intergender wrestling. Now, I understand there's going to be morons that are going to put out videos of guys just repeatedly beating these women, them not fighting back, or making stupid videos edited that show guys doing demeaning things to women. But, dude, these people were going to do that whether they had the WW2K25 platform to do it or not. There's bad apples everywhere you go. Look at the fact that there are freaking predators in the church. There's predators in the Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, the LGBTQ Scouts. You know, there are predators everywhere. And your religion and what you believe in really doesn't matter. There's just sick people. So, back to the new stuff. For instance, these two guys, absolutely beef. I've seen one new move from each of them. I apologize I didn't point it out at the time because I was talking about other things. But there are new moves in the game I have seen. And there are new meters available for you to look at. There's the stun get up meter, for instance. So on your little nameplate down there, you got that dummy on the right hand side, and right now the one guy's abdomen's lit up yellow and the other's orange, and you see right above yellow it's got that red circle, half 3/4 circle. Well, now you can actually see that you're mashing to get up. I don't think you got that in 24, because I would have noticed that, because I always wondered, why don't they have a meter? Am I supposed to mash to get up faster? Because with some guys you can't tell. And not to mention the quick get up button with some guys works really well and other guys it doesn't. So, you know, I mean, now, I do think they gotta lose these stereotypical names. I think it's stupid. You know, filet mignon or whatever. You know, wearing a chef's or an apron like he's slicing meat. You know, like he's a butcher. I think the pun names have got to go. This is 2025, man. Do you know anybody in your life who's ever used a pun name? If you do, well, you know more exciting people than I do, that's for sure. And that's very likely. He turns him over for the pin. Now, see, previously, I had even turned up the difficulty on, like, the slider for being able to kick out. Now, I always have it set where if somebody nails a finisher, they aren't going to be able to get a full chance to get up. They automatically lose that 1 count, and the next chance they have a chance to get up is for their 2 and 3 count. I do that on purpose to make the game harder, not just for me, but for the computer too. I understand it affects me a lot more. I mean, AI is AI, and technically it can do whatever the hell it wants, and we wouldn't know. Would we? But it doesn't. I hope. Great thought. And I lost my train of thought there. Doesn't matter. Great game. Now, in universe mode, I am definitely going to show the entrances because I think it's fantastic to be able to run in and break up a fight. Now you see here in the bottom left hand corner, I've just left that in so you guys can see all the new abilities. You can actually control the camera, go to the third person view. You can go around the arena from different camera angles as they walk in. There's lots of different stuff you can do in that effect. And I think that's really cool, and quite frankly, I don't know why it took them this long. That was one of the first things I wanted to do in 24 when I was watching an entrance, because I'm like, oh, I want to see it from this angle. That looks great, 2D. Like, you know what I mean? It's not 2D, but it's 3D, 2D, if that makes any sense. That's the way I look at it. Because we can't travel through that space right now. We see that there's the possibility of it, but we're not doing it. You know, that's some clever camera angles and movements. And so, 3D, 2D. That's the term. Use it. I do love that you're able to bring in the guys from last year that you have already paid for and unlocked. For instance, any of the DLC content from last year. We can automatically use that this year. I do love that these guys are finally in the game. That's one thing I never understood with these updates. They can add... Come on, it's not difficult to add a character. If one of us can put one together in an afternoon and have it available for everybody to download and upload and use, what's wrong with you guys, huh? Let me ask that. It should not be that difficult. To fix things like Hell in the Cell, it should not be that difficult, man. And if it is, you got the wrong team. The wrong team. Another thing I don't care for the GM entrances is the fact that you do got to start out in like a stadium or high school, blah, 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 and work your way up. Now, it's fantastic once you get up to stadium and coliseum. It's great visually. Even up to, I'll say maybe the wrestling house, or it's specifically made for a wrestling show. I can't recall the exact name for it at the moment. My apologies there. Looks really well done, and it's aesthetically pleasing. But yeah, who wants to look at this in the background, man? Blackhawk Gym. I mean, it's not worth watching an entrance to me. I mean, the matches, you sort of get into it and you lose track of the background for a bit, so it doesn't technically matter. But at the same time, it would look nice. So, loving this. The Street Profits, new color outfit. Same old badass attitudes. You dancing fools, you don't they look good? They look good. You can tell me. I know. I could never dance. I did one night, and I actually ate probably about, I don't know, 3 to 4 grams of mushroom spores. Not stems, not a single one. Not dirt. No, it did not taste like dirt, my friend. Well, it tastes like dirty gym socks, but that goes with eating mushrooms. So another thing that goes with eating mushrooms is a healthy half-hour build-up time to being just bonkers. And don't get me wrong, 3 grams of mushrooms won't even make me bonkers. 3 grams of spores, though. Whole other story, my friend. I think it was 20 minutes later I felt like I was going to puke. And no big deal, mushrooms. It just means you're going to waste your trip, unfortunately. If you haven't given it enough time to set into your system, because then of course you're just getting all that poison out, which is exactly what it is. Don't get me wrong, I know what's going on. Getting all that poison out before it can get into your bloodstream properly and make its rounds. And even once it does, puking does help to get you through it and maybe a little bit quicker, but you're not going to want to, because once you get over that queasy feeling and you realize just how wrecked you are and how wonderful life is at not puking and how much it doesn't want you to puke, you don't, and you enjoy it if you're with the right people. So yeah, that was the last time I danced anyway. I was at a bar. Remember that? I was dressed up as Scream, or the character from Scream. I remember that night well. Well, up until the dancing stopped. Alright, so as I was mentioning, the AI does seem smarter everywhere. It isn't just in their draft picks. And with draft picks, what I mean is they're trying to match up bruisers and fighters and cruisers and giants for feuds. And they're trying to make sure you have the correct tag team partner picked. Whereas in the past, it did happen, but there wasn't a big emphasis on it by the computer, in my opinion. Or AI, sorry, by the computer. You don't have a computer, you have a PS5, stupid. So there wasn't a big emphasis on it. Now I'm getting into this match now, but I remember how it ends, and well, it ends. Don't want to ruin it. It does seem like they counter a lot more when I have the prompts on, even the AI. Here we go through the table, and Tonga Loa take the first tag team championships on my GM. These boys, man, they know how to throw down. Look at these beasts, finely tuned for tag team action. I will be doing some actual play-by-play monitoring and stuff like that, or play-by-play joking around and calling and stuff like that of action once we get past this first week. And it's not going to be all the time, just be certain matches. I'm going to enjoy this first week and have fun with it, We got new stars, as we see here. He's going in for a bloodline sandwich, and he is the meat. Unfortunately, the bread is two badass individuals, either of which capable of holding a belt at any time they want it, I'm sure. I'm really enjoying playing with the werewolf. But he seems like, I don't know, don't get me wrong. Okay, I won't say he seems like. I hope, because he doesn't seem like it. I could see it happening. I hope he doesn't turn out to be one of these frickin' flashes where, either he gets a big injury early and they just don't use him properly after that because they can't, or because he does some pretty risky stuff, man. Like that, even just hopping up to that, the top rope before he does, from the second rope, before doing the backflip, that's pretty risky because you got to think about it. The key to pulling off this move every time, and he does every time, is having the wherewithal to jump up, focus where you're going to have your feet on that second rope, concentrate as you're jumping on how much pressure you have to put down, and then possibly make a split-second adjustment to that depending on the flex of the rope that night. Because let's face it, if a rope's been used a certain amount, just like a climbing rope, you don't use it anymore because it's lost its tensile strength. And that goes the same with these wrestling ropes, even though they're covered in this plastic. And I mean, technically guys are just bouncing off it, but those are big boys. A lot of weight's being put on those night after night. A lot of high stress situations with like these guys running full steam into the corners and hitting the ropes, and you see those ropes move. You see the ring move, man. It is intense. Oh, look at this kendo stick. There are some new weapons, and that was really cool. I like that. And I know I'm jumping back and forth, but why not, right? New weapons I saw, some of them have to be unlocked, which I think is stupid. Once again, come on, man. Why are we unlocking weapons? It's not necessary. I can see certain wrestlers, you want to have them unlocked as special things, But weapons, come on. Alright, I do like that they've taken away this stupid stance that they gave guys last year. You had two different stances. Well, now it appears like you only have one for the most part. And I'm pretty sure you can... I'll have to try it during my next match. I don't recall if I have yet. Click in on your R3 button or your L3 and change your stance slightly. But... last year's stance that they give you from the start just looked really stupid. It looked like they were in some karate fight, They were just always ready to go like this, and they were rigid, and so bouncing around just doesn't make any sense for me. But they move around all rigid like, and they were kind of like robots, And it wasn't cool. It didn't look like wrestlers. At least now they're walking around, man. I know some games, if you don't have the right gait, it just looks wrong. By that I mean your walking stance and the movement and all that put together as your gait. More changes this year. They've changed how quickly you can access your specialty meter. Not your finisher, your specialty meter. Now, this may have been the same way last year. I didn't do the tutorial, I'll be honest, because it wasn't necessary last year, I don't think. Now, when you do light attacks, and you keep doing light attacks, that thing builds fairly quickly. And so what I think this one's building on is the amount of attacks you perform, whereas previously it was dependent on the damage those attacks performed, if that makes any sense. So it can happen a lot quicker now. And if you're not building that up to use it before you use at least one finisher, don't expect to get your first big pin on, don't expect to win off your first big finishing move. They'll kick out at 3. They'll pop out of the submission just before they're ready to give up every time. You gotta damage these people, which I really like. You're able to run on the barricades now. That is pretty amazing. I've only done it once so far because it's one of those things where, like, you couldn't do it, so you don't think about it. Some things are pretty natural in that way, like, oh yeah, he's got this move. You don't think, oh man, I can run off that wall. Unless this is a futuristic Call of Duty game, I guess. Big head smash by Roman Reigns, taking that werewolf in. And those forearms are big. Here comes D'Angelo, taking a little bit of heat off the freaking werewolf, and a jackknife powerbomb to boot. Oh, that's not a jackknife powerbomb. That would be a razor's edge powerbomb. Although I'm sure there's different names. People call everything something different. So I'm going to call it a jackknife powerbomb. Alright, D'Angelo's going to toss him over. No. Hangs him out to dry. One thing I wish they would have done is have weapon damage for when you land on it. I always thought it looks great if I can carry a guy over and like pull off a DDT where you're like, oh man, that was on that chair. And if that happened in real life, you'd be checking his legs to see if they still worked, right? But here they don't even give you extra damage, so I wish they'd change that. And I hope they look at that for before next year, because it's a small change. It really is. Alright. Oh, beautiful. Man, that spear, that would just like knock your stomach through your spine, I'm sure. Nice. Oh, he turns it into a pin. I like it. I haven't watched a lot of NXT, so I know of these guys, but I haven't seen them wrestle. And when I did my seasons last year, I didn't include NXT. And this year, I'm going to have a Rumble edition where I'm going to include everybody. All three. And I'm sure it's going to be a little bit difficult to focus on certain storylines and stuff like that, because there's going to be a lot going on, but I'm going to try my best. Because it's hard enough to do one storyline at times and keep it cool. But I really want to knock it out of the park this year, this being my second year with the Universal My GM. And now that I've seen what they've done with promos, I almost erased my MK24 stuff. But I think I might even still do it. I could still use the MK25 one. But I got to create promos unlike what they're offering. And just edit them into my show, I think. Just gonna skip for a bounce of water here for a moment. I think they did a really good job of the colors. The characters look better. Because I was just playing 24 a day before and then I put in 25. You do notice a difference between the graphics and the characters. They've put a little bit more time and effort into them, I think. Which is awesome, because that's where it grabs you. These little things, right? To see wrinkles in a shirt, it makes it more real. Just something stupid like that you wouldn't even think of. You're like, hey, what if I add a little bit of color to it? I don't know, it kind of looks the same, boss. Well, when you wear your shirt, I see some wrinkles here because you're a little bit fat. What if he had some wrinkles there? Well, first, I gotta tell you, you're on the verge of losing your job. And second, great idea. Get that to print. They have worked on the targeting system a little bit. And what I mean by targeting system is when you're playing multiple player matches and I'm in the ring and I'm fighting with the werewolf here and all of a sudden D'Angelo gets up. I got to be able to target him. And to do that and then attack is super important, or defend, because they're waiting for you to stand up. So you're already at a disadvantage because you're in a tangle with another guy and you don't know when that's going to finish all the time. I mean, most of it's pretty drawn out and then laid out, but things happen. And it seems like the moment you're available to be grabbed, they're grabbing. And they're not very cool about it, I say. Oh dear Lord, you caught me falling asleep. I am an insomniac, and I knew it was going to happen. I'm glad it was on camera. It doesn't happen too often, man. But once it does, it's like this. You'll notice a few times I'll just quietly nod off. I actually have an issue with sleepwalking over that because I'm not always able to sit still. So I've taken a long break off of streaming because to sit here and just talk like this, for most, you take it for granted. I can't. Because to do this puts me in extreme pain. Extreme pain. And I don't know why. Doctors don't know why. And it started off as the restless leg syndrome, the funny restless leg syndrome from Seinfeld that everybody knows about. And everybody has an uncle or an aunt or a grandma that has it. Oh, and Reigns makes him tap. Just like that. Tap or I make that neck crack, bitch. Woohoo! And we know who the big dog is. We knew who it was going to be. Come on. Come on. No, if anybody was going to beat him, though, it was the werewolf. And as I mentioned in this first set of games, I gave up fairly easy by accident, and I got pinned fairly easy by accident a couple times, leading to poor rated matches. And that just comes from not knowing how to get up or to slide the submission bars around. Yeah. Do the practice, man. It takes a minute. It'll save you looking embarrassed. I'll tell you that much. So here we go. Big Bronson Reed versus Randy Orton. Chuck and Knuckles in Winnipeg, Canada. Oh, yeah. And it is a title shot for the United States Championship. Who will walk home and who will crawl? Why will they be crawling? They got nothing to hold up those pants. Boom! Just lets him have the heat, eh? I'm not even waiting, man. You ring that bell, I'm gonna let it happen. Go edit Randy. Now, I really like Bronson Reed, but his punches are so slow. So I had a difficult time in this match because you'll notice more than a few times I start my punch and Randy Orton just smacks the taste out of my mouth. See, that should be major power move. Like, he just got DDT'd on an aluminum freaking ladder, and there was no doubt about that. I think that should do extra damage. Oh, to see him watch it. I was at Survivor Series, and that poor guy, Bronson Reed, he jumps off that the top of the cage coming down on that table, and he went to brace a little bit too early with his... He tried to land on his foot. Bad mistake, man. That's a lot of weight to expect that little bone and muscle to support from a 20-foot drop. And now you look up from the apron, and it doesn't look to be horrible. Hell, you get up there, and it doesn't look to be horrible. Especially these guys, they're taking bumps and bruises all day long, man. So to fall from it at twice the height, no big deal. He's suplexed me off the top ropes before. Twice the height means twice the amount of time to build up velocity. Which leads to impact, as they call it, impact velocity. And so, when that occurs, let's just say it leads to a poor night's sleep. So you gotta really mean it. So he jumps off this huge cage, and he comes down, gonna splash on that table, and last possible second, he puts his foot down, like he's gonna land on just one foot to slow it down, which is cool in a way, because he's not thinking about himself, he's thinking about Uso. He doesn't want to kill this guy. Uso's willing to tense up and take that impact like a man, and believe me, that is gonna feel like you were hit by a truck. There's not a lot of way to soften that blow. The good thing is he's going through a table, so you have that initial impact where all that impact energy is spread out, but it's spread out in such a way where there's nothing to make it come back. Whereas if you're on the mat, that energy gets dispersed, it hits that mat and immediately comes back into your body. So he hits, boom! At that moment, all that force is spread out through that table and vibrates into the air. It may have some ground contact through those little metal feet and legs, but it means very little at this point. Most of that velocity and impact was taken and dispersed. It doesn't mean that didn't hurt like hell, though. And it doesn't mean that I would do it. Or that I think he is a pussy for trying to land it. Nothing but respect for these guys. I wanted to be a wrestler for so long, but I was too little growing up. And I know little guys do it now, but you got to start at a young age to develop that the ability to get over the fear of what it's going to feel like to break your bone when you fall. And what are you doing right there? He's yelling at the sky when he should be jumping up that ladder to get Randy Orton. Now, I do really like the changes they've made to getting this belt down. For instance, before, if I was to kick out the ladder right now, you would just hang there and eventually fall, or, you go over and you powerbomb him and he falls. But either way, he's not getting another notch on that belt. Well, now, as long as he's holding on, he can still get another notch on that belt. And when you're doing that, if I remember correctly, there's basically, it felt like 3 different little mini games to get to each of the different notches. And I might be wrong on that, because I've only done it once. And I was on 6 days no sleep. Today's day 7. Woohoo! But you get my point. I don't remember a lot. Oh, big fall by Bronson Reed. Takes it like a champ. And all Orton has to do now is get that final notch. Can he do it? Can he walk away a champion? If anybody can, it's going to be him. He climbs the ladder so slow, definitely not fast enough, and your champion Randy Orton So there you go. There's the first week of my GM with the draft. I want to thank you for checking things out. We're going to be into day 2 or week 2 the next time I see you. And you know where it's going to be? On Rumble. You know why? Because they're fantastic. If you want to see more of me on YouTube, you will. I'm going to be putting out some of the other or game mode types on YouTube. I think I might even do some My Rise on YouTube because I've never done My Rise before. So why not? I got a little bit bigger audience on YouTube, but I'll tell you this. I've been a member of YouTube now for 7 years, 8 years or more, posting content for that long at least. And I got a lot of videos between a lot of different channels. A lot. A lot. And don't get me wrong, it's not quality crap. It was experimental stuff, a lot of it, but some of it was really good. Interviews with people that you wouldn't imagine me talking to. I got interviews with. And I'm not going to tell you what. You can look it up and find out. But my gaming channels, I got lots of stuff on Magic the Gathering and wrestling and Mortal Kombat and all these different channels. My dog has her own channel. So I got lots of videos on YouTube. Tons of views. I got some videos with almost 40,000 views, which isn't a lot. It's not a brag. I'm just saying, for one person to have 40,000 people look at their material and have nothing to show for it, that's a big deal. YouTube, you need to work on your crap, man. That's all there is to that. For instance, how come I'm getting paid from another company that does the exact same thing that I've only been streaming on for a few months? Haven't seen a penny from YouTube. Figure that out while you're liking, commenting, blah, blah, blah. Thanks for joining me. I'm the Digital Wizard. Thanks for putting up with my rant. It'll never be like that again. And we are going to move into my GM Week 2 next.